to keep it up, because so the irony is what you can hear in the background is water, right? So we're torrential downpour. It's rainy season in Bali, and tonight definitely is rainy season. So I think it's a beautiful blessing for the preview tonight of Bali Ocean Days. So let me just give you a little bit of information and background about what we're going to be talking about tonight. So as you may know, navigating solutions for a regenerative ocean future. Tonight is a preview of Bali Ocean Days, the third conference and ocean showcase, which is 2026 for Speak Up Monday Destination episode 505. Now, for some of you, you may know that January 30 and 31 at the InterContinental Bali in Jimbaran is where it's taking place this year. So we have a board of management from Sky Blue Sea Foundation, which is behind the success of Bali Ocean Days. So tonight we have three board members, which I'll introduce in a little while. And, you know, the interesting part of all of this is that the other board members are, I think, in Jakarta. I think some are probably out on the ocean as we speak. So I'm really happy to have Aisha Reynolds to my left, Board of Management, Sky Blue Sea Foundation, and she's the head of scientific and technical affairs. So if you have any questions in that area, she's a great resource. Pascal Philippe, Darmawan Associates, is Secretary General of Sky Blue Sea Foundation. And myself, Robert Ian Bonnick, Board of Management, Sky Blue Sea Foundation, Head of Marketing, Organic, and Community, and obviously the founder of Speak Up Monday Destination Indonesia, you're watching tonight. So there's three takeaways out of many others that will happen tonight. One is obviously a preview of Bali Ocean Days 2026, what's coming and why it matters. The second one is the Stop Coral Destruction Declaration, which has been enacted by Sky Blue Sea Foundation, and why that is crucial now. Third point, how communities, businesses, and tourism players like you can act now and support this great initiative and make sure you come to Bali Ocean Days. Now, one thing I would quickly remind you, if you are involved in the ocean and you would like to have a booth or you'd like to have some representation at Bali Ocean Days, please get in touch. Bali Ocean Days on Instagram. There's also a website as well, or speak directly to one of us, preferably Pascal, and we can work that out for you. So, what I want to start with is, you know, how each of us came to this ocean or Bali Ocean Days and what's behind it. So I'm going to start with Aisha. So Aisha, you know, probably some things that people don't know about you, right?
You've opened a can of worms there.
I was about to say no pressure, but you can see there's no pressure anyway. So look, obviously tonight we have some serious things to talk about, but I also like to kind of start with humans, right? Because we're three humans sitting up here, and humans that are watching this, which are emotionally driven most of the time. So what is it like? What's your kind of origin story that brought you toward this whole ocean movement? How did it start for you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Robert. Look, I think it's compassion. And to Ubud, I do live in Ubud. That's really been a driver for everything I've done throughout my whole life, and acted in many different ways, many different career choices. But I was actually thinking you might open with this. So it actually hit me last night that the first time I came to Bali, I was 6 years old, and that's my first recollection of having an encounter with the ocean and ocean creatures where I felt this overwhelming connection, love and compassion. And I'm sorry to all the Balinese fishermen out there, but what I actually did was there were fishermen with buckets of fish, and as a little 6-year-old I just saw the fish suffering, and I ran up and I stole all the fishermen's buckets and I put them back in the ocean. So for as long as I can remember, I've wanted to protect the ocean.
6 years of age.
6 years of age.
I got goosebumps. 6 years of age. I wasn't expecting that.
And look, and that ended up, many years later, I ended up joining Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and spending 10 years at sea in Antarctica, in Libyan waters, in the Mediterranean, basically risking my life to protect other sentient creatures, and realising that my life finally had meaning once I'd found something greater than me that was worth sacrificing everything for. And that sounds dramatic, but that's truly, what I've devoted my life to.
As you mentioned, that science is a huge factor in this. So how did that arrive? I mean, were you always, at 6 years of age, I think we know now that you're always an activist, right? I think that comes across quite clearly. But the scientific background, where did that come from?
Yeah, look, I think there's limitations to every approach. And I realised that I was helping each individual creature, when I was trying to stop whaling, and that was hugely empowering and beneficial and had a huge impact. But, it had limitations. And then I realised that I had to start learning more about being able to justify things economically, because that's so much of what drives decision-making in government. And I also had to back up my passions with evidence, really, to be taken seriously.
The thing about, because a lot of us here and those watching may have worked with government before, may have in different, let's say different areas, right? Either opposing government or in the government. But if I would ask you, distilling all of the experiences that you've had, whatever comes up first. So what have you found? Because there's people here that also want to engage with government, right? Because they want to see change. So literally see change. Pardon the pun. If there was one of the most important things that you would need to do in approaching government to get a favorable result, what would you say that would be?
There's two parts to that. I don't think you necessarily have to work with government to have great impact. And the second part is, no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's government or not, you need to understand your audience. So you need to, from a policy perspective, understand what the community needs are, what the political needs are. You have to understand the people. You have to understand what's driving them and what the needs are, and present a unique solution. And again, that's what Bali Ocean Days does, solutions-based, right? So you need to understand what problem they're trying to solve. But again, I don't think you necessarily have to work. I mean, what the beauty of Bali Ocean Days conference is that, we have these young entrepreneurs, we have these youth activists, we have all of these amazing, amazing young people that have seen a problem. Look at Malati that you interviewed. Yeah. She was 10 years old, and her friends were surrounded by plastic waste in her village, and she didn't feel disempowered, and the government was the only one who could change that. She got all her friends together, and at 10 or 12 created her own program. So
I want
everyone to feel empowered that we all can make a change and make a difference. It's not just up to governments.
One of the things that last week we interviewed Mark Feldman, right, who's a very well-known investor, entrepreneur, 30 years experience in the capital markets, huge guy, right? So the question which I asked him, one of the answers that came out was, a lot of people, and I look at the audience now, right? Don't take this personally, audience, right? But we have the conviction, we have maybe the story, maybe like Aisha's, right? And you kind of knew that what you were supposed to be doing. But ultimately, it's what is it that you do best? So what he was saying when I asked him, what are one of the things that entrepreneurs who pitch him for investment, what is it that they miss? And he was saying, one of the three things real fast, one was obviously being the right person to present what it is you're trying to communicate. In other words, you can be the most passionate person who knows the data, knows the figures, knows the facts, but you just can't present. It's not within your capability or your skill set. You're not a good speaker. You're not a good presenter. Right? I don't mean to piss anybody off, but just calling it straight. So one of these main things was like, if you are not a great speaker and you're not able to communicate in a really clear, concise, powerful way, find someone else. So in this kind of realm, what would be what allowed, buy plastic bags to have all of the traction that it did, right? So in this realm of thinking, what is it that you see, and it may even be mistakes that people make that stop them from having that success? What would you say? What's coming up for you?
What's coming up is that it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, to start something on your own, whether you have 100 people around you or you're doing it on your own. So I would say find something that you love. We protect what we love. Yeah. So if you deeply love it, you will never quit and you will never stop, no matter what. So it's that commitment and that drive and stubbornness to just keep going. All entrepreneurs need that, right? And it doesn't have to look like one thing. There's not a silver bullet. Stop trying to search for the silver bullet, because there's so many different ways, and we need everyone. So no matter how big or small you think your offering is, we're all a part of the puzzle, right? And we're all integral in coming to solutions together. So you might think that you're only creating these tiny, tiny little changes when the problem is so huge. But if everyone just does that one tiny bit, you've heard it all before, we know this, right? But I spent so much of my life looking for the one perfect answer that would fix everything, and I just don't think it exists, right?
And last one before we move to Pascal. So we've spoken about the light side, right? This is what you can do. Have a good orator, a person who can explain what it is and communicate in a powerful, positive, concise, clear way. We've spoken about the emphasis of a team. We've spoken about having that thing that you love, right? And when you have that, it comes through you, not from you. It comes through you. So what has been the biggest mistake that you've seen people make? You mentioned one already about trying to find a silver bullet, right? One thing suits all. But again, I see people here, even before, I can see the passion in their eyes on a rainy Monday in Bali, right? I can see that they're driven, and I can see that a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, waste a lot of energy, and that stops a lot of great things from happening. So how can we minimize the mistakes to maximize and have a greater impact on the things we're actually trying to change?
Well, collaboration again, because that stops overlap in people. So much of the not-for-profits of the world are all trying to achieve the same thing, but they're all doing it independently. And if everyone just dropped their egos and came together, there'd be less waste of resources. The finite resources of funding, which are so hard to get. And if you look at, so many people in the audience here tonight are divers and surfers, or, working in some kind of marine tourism, or whether it's just for leisure. You don't need to be the scientist. We have all these amazing UN reports and guidance and things already out there on how to interact sustainably with marine wildlife when we're taking out divers and doing their scuba diving. So just access those resources that are already there, and collaborate with a range of stakeholders. And again, that's why Bali Ocean Days is so fantastic, because we bring investors, community, youth, high-level government, scientists, and get them all together. And you're going to get 100 different perspectives, and they're all going to think that they've got the answer, and the answers are all different. But together in a room, that's when things come out. And then obviously with equity and the people that these high-level decisions are actually affecting on a daily basis that live in those coastal communities, and they get to have a voice. Yeah.
Collaborate, don't duplicate.
Yeah.
Love it. Pascal Philippe, Secretary General.
Yes, I am.
So thank you, brother, for being here. Now, we've heard from our sister Aisha, an interesting origin story. Which, again, none of this is set up. We don't plan the questions. It just comes as it comes, which I love, right?
You put me on the spot.
You put them on the... It's funny because people come on the show and they say, should I prepare anything? It's like, no.
I have 20 pages of statistics and facts.
20 pages. She wasn't kidding.
He told me no facts or statistics 10 minutes ago. I was like,
We will have an opportunity to hear one of those pages. Pascal, so for you, Bali Ocean Days, why is the ocean important to you? Because you're Secretary General, right? So you are setting the tone for the rest of us.
Let's say that, Rob, I came in this country first time in the early 90s. It's a long way to go. I came from France. I arrived in Indonesia in the early 90s, working for the French embassy and starting to travel extensively all over this beautiful country. And over the years, I have realized the threats. I have realized that this Indonesian biodiversity, this Indonesian fantastic archipelago we have is growingly threatened by environmental damage. So basically, I've had various activities in various industries, but I joined my partner in event organization a few years ago. We have a couple of shows in various industries, in tourism, in cinema, and you know them well, at Bali and Beyond Travel Fair, the Bali International Film Festival, a few accounts, and I said to myself, I really want to develop an event. I want to develop a sustainable event as much as I can, and surfing, diving, sailing, swimming in the ocean drive me naturally to care about the oceans and especially Indonesian waters. Basically, it's a personal story of mine.
You know, you're obviously, a very cool, suave fellow. I'm sure you would agree. And I've seen you, obviously, through all of these events over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years with Yoka, partner, and obviously we've seen with Paul T. Tan, who's the founder of Sky Blue Sea Foundation. One of the things which, I've seen about you is that you have this quiet tenacity. Your tenacity is out. Like, you can, tenacity kind of, boom, right? You see it. Whereas yours is more internal, I find, right?
That's right. That's right. I don't really present most of the time. You're right, Rob, as you know, yeah. I like to produce. I like to organize. I like to connect different communities that don't connect. International, I like to connect people, nationalities, generations, backgrounds. I'm basically more a producer than a presenter. So I like to be backstage, but with utmost determination. Yeah, we want to create Bali Ocean Days as a reference convention, as a reference meetup. And I think we are in a good direction to do so. When you, hopefully, guys, you will. I don't know how many of you have attending last year's and the previous year's editions, but I think we gather an interesting batch of people in between public, private sectors, entrepreneurs, as you said, impact finance, angels and founders, conservationists, of course, major NGOs,
Navy,
and then down to grassroots organizations that are active here in Bali.
3 things come up real quick. One is, it was G20. Anyone here was anyone here for G20? Just raise your hand. G20 in Bali. A few. Did you go to Oceans 20? Yeah. See, the interesting part is that G20 everyone knows, right? But there was also O20, Oceans 20, which it was Minister Maritime Luhut was very much, and I was there most of the time. And I remember there I met, did anyone remember a guy called Ray Dalio? Just raise your hands. Ray, yeah. So I met Ray there, right? Along with another fellow called Vincent Pierrebone, right? Who's the CEO. So Ray Dalio is basically the founder of Ocean X, Ocean Explorer, which most people know the vessel, which is the most advanced vessel for conservation and ocean use in the world. So I remember, I think it was last year, that Vincent was a speaker, right, at Bali Ocean Days, right? And just a really cool guy. I really enjoyed him. But you see, the thing I think that people don't realize is that with all the different, over the years, and the sponsors that have been part of this, the ministers which have come, the high-ranking international entrepreneurs, conservationists, and so on, you have been instrumental, this quiet determination behind the scenes of the producer, of orchestrating, attracting all of these different types of speakers, right, over the years, which then form this bridge for actual policy-making action that can actually happen. So this year, in fact, let's do two things. Who, and I know it's very difficult, but who in the last couple of years were you really excited about acquiring or securing to come and speak at Bali Ocean Days, and who are you looking forward to this year?
I mean, most important for us now is to acquire a regional dimension, to go over the borders, but to have, Rob, the Honorable Alicia Bainivalu is going to join us in January. She's a Minister of Fisheries of the Republic of Fiji. She's a lady coming from a remote area of the Fiji. She comes really from grassroots communities, and she became a minister. At the United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice on last June, she was considered as one of the most charismatic. She was a memorable speaker, and I'm so honored to have her saying, yes, Pascal, yes, I like the lineup, I like the variety, I like the diversity of your conference. I come. Easy, you see what I mean? I come, and I'm sure she's going to deliver a memorable message. She introduced herself as a daughter of the seas, and she let us know how much, in this Melanesian oceanic culture, the custody of the seas is as much important as the custody of the lands. And there's no difference for people to. You wouldn't trespass people's land, but you would trespass coastal areas, and this grassroots education of protecting the shores from a culture, from a tradition, from a cultural identity is really a message that I think we should deliver soon, in January, with the counterpart from the Papua New Guinea, another minister coming from overseas. Very honored to have him joining us. So I think it's going to be a very interesting high-level meeting to start with.
One of the things, thank you, Aisha, so people here might be saying, well, hang on a second, we're talking about Indonesia, why is Fiji coming? I know you have the answer, and I know you do too. So it's interesting for people here to hear why it's so important. This is not a local issue. Yeah. It's a global issue. But I'll leave it to you. Yeah.
So day one, our very first session is titled Archipelagic Islands on the Front Line of Climate Change. I hope I got that right. And we know, maybe you don't, but Indonesia is the world's largest archipelagic nation, 17,000 islands, 3/4 of its territory is actually marine area. So when you look at islands like Indonesia, we're on the front line of climate change. And then you look at countries in the Pacific Islands, if the ocean rises due to climate change impacts, if the ocean rises more than 0.46 metres, not even half a metre, we won't only lose Pacific Islands, we'll lose at least 92 outer islands around Indonesia. So for small island developing states and archipelagic nations, it's it's an existential crisis. We don't live in cities. You know, there's 60 million Indonesians that rely on coral reefs for their livelihood. See, with my stats now, I needed to get it in, Robert.
I knew you would.
70% of I've done the heart-centered. Now I can, roll at you with some stats. 70% of Indonesia's population live around the coastline. So, Indonesia's economy, its society, its culture is completely intertwined with the health of the oceans, and that is exactly the same situation for Pacific Islanders as well. So we're all facing the same existential crisis that we can't bury our head in the sand from, that people living in the city can. So we really wanted to make sure that we could bring in other Pacific Island countries in our Asia Pacific region and try to learn from them and have a knowledge exchange, which is another thing that really creates tangible impact from the conference, is having that knowledge exchange and coming up with ideas together with other countries and getting inspired by them.
Like one of the things which I find very interesting as well and important is you mentioned, you have the ministries, you have the entrepreneurs. I mentioned Ray Dalio and Ocean X. Then you have the conservationists, and then Pascal. I think this year, getting down to the grassroots now. Is it the Blue Ocean School? Maybe you want to say a little bit about that, and also people like Malati.
Of course, yeah. We'd like to confirm the attendance of the Uluwatu school. It's not confirmed yet, but I think we can get it done before January. Uluwatu school is a new primary school in Bali. That is the very first to have included ocean protection in a standard curriculum of a primary school. So everybody knows a green school. We have an occasion to have a blue school in Bali and to develop young change makers, because all of us knows that everything's in the hands of the younger generation, yeah. And Melati Waisen, probably know, will have a tremendous impact to deliver. We would like to give her the closing words of this upcoming foundation, the convention. Because she comes not only as a speaker, she comes as a moderator too. So she will come from Hong Kong and dedicated to show her talents and her impact. As you know, yeah, she's a green school young Bali-born lady, and she was up to the World Economic Forum, European Parliament. She get close to President Obama. Everything from Bali started at 12, yeah, with bye-bye plastic bags. And of course, we're gonna have theme sessions, yeah, as every year. We have 6 major sessions, as we said. Archipelagic and island states in the front line of climate change, and then we go directly to ecotourism and how we can develop a sustainable marine tourism sector in respect of the biodiversity. Talking about coastal communities empowerment at the third session, extremely important to associate the coastal communities, the fishers communities, in this matter. And day 2, of course. Day 2, there is another day, Saturday coming. The tech session is always interesting, the one that Ocean X features last year. A tech session, something about this, how we can develop sustainable fishing in this country. That is second fisheries in the world. But the overfishing crisis is growing. To conclude with plastic pollution mitigation, yeah, right? So these are basically the theme that we'd like to push, and for the audience to learn more about that.
What I also love is that each year, because again, as we've already said, there's different aspects to getting things done. One is the ideation part of it. Two is further talk. But three, there has to be action, right? So I remember last year, it was the Navy. If you quickly want to talk about, maybe Aisha, Pascal, you can, about the Navy and what the action was. And then we get into this year, which I'll come to Aisha.
You mean the army pontoons, yeah. Yeah, cleaning up the rivers. Cleaning up the rivers is our upstream thinking, yeah? Once pollution is down the ocean, it's a bit late. It's too late, basically. So thinking upstream, thinking about cleaning up the rivers before pollution get down the ocean is a crucial matter. Many of you would know about Sungai Watch here that have shown amazing dedication to this mission, but we engaged last year the Indonesian army itself to build up some vessels, pontoon vessels, basically to be operated in the rivers of Indonesia, and to have boots on the ground rather than in the barracks. You had to have all these human resources of the Indonesian army participating into the efforts to mitigate pollution in this country. It's still a bit slow, but we're confident to develop a fleet, because it's a question of upscaling those projects. You see, it needs to be literally upscaled to have an impact.
So then what we're talking about, and by the way, in about 8 minutes time, you'll have questions. So we have another mic. You've already spoken on the mic, so you know how it works. Remember, not down here. Can't hear you. Needs to be relatively close, yeah? I say it every week, but every week someone... So what we're seeing, Bali Ocean Days, if you're tuning in right now, Third Ocean Conference, 30th and 31st of January at the InterContinental Bali. So go online to Bali Ocean Days to secure your spot, reserve your place. Very important. If you are looking to have more impact, it might be a booth. It might be as a speaker. I think the slots are closed, but maybe we can twist Pascal's arm. Please, again, get in touch. So what we've also spoken about is, collaboration, not duplication. So what you have already heard is that we're talking about private and public sectors coming together. From the highest, we're talking at the ministry level, to the highest in entrepreneurship. We've spoken about Ray Dalio, we've spoken about Vincent Pierre Boni, we've spoken about Ocean X, and many others. We've spoken about conservationists, scientists, right? We've spoken about people like Melati. We've spoken about the first school, probably in Indonesia, to have, on its curriculum, dedication to the ocean, which again, it starts small, right? Maybe at 6 years of age. That's where it starts. So it's incredibly inclusive, incredibly collaborative. So, and we've spoken about, it's about action. So last year was this collaboration with the Army of Indonesia. And I remember meeting some high-ranking army officials. We had a good chat, we had a good fun, took a few photos in front of the pontoon, but great people, and you can see that they were excited by it as well, right? So now this year, it's about stop coral destruction. So many of us before were speaking about this, on the importance of coral in the whole ocean ecosystem. And then we understand that life began in the ocean and life ends in the ocean too. So we're talking about something that's incredibly important. So Sky Blue Sea Foundation, has started this, and I'll ask Aisha to go a bit deeper, but it's this Stop Coral Destruction Declaration, and this is going to be presented at this year's Bali Ocean Days. But I think I'm going to hand over to our scientist and radicalist at 6 years of age to explain a little bit more about what this means and its importance now.
Thanks, Robert. Now I'm not speaking into my mic. Look, Indonesia's blue economy, which includes tourism, fisheries, marine renewable energy and marine transport, is worth $1.3 trillion US. So tourism is huge. We all know that. Bali, Indonesia, it's critical. But we've seen a slew of really, really devastating, destructive events occur in the last couple of years, and one quite recently, where very unsustainable marine tourism practices, predominantly by boat operations, large yachts, large cruise liners, have come into beautiful protected marine protected areas like Raja Ampat, like Alor, and they have not followed marine zoning rules. They've not, they've overcrowded the area. You go on a snorkel now or a scuba dive, even in Nusa Lembongan or Nusa Penida, and you see 30 boats all crowding one manta ray and 100 divers in the water. It's just completely unsustainable, and some of the most recent incidents have actually been due to not adhering to sustainable anchoring practices. So you're having all of these cruise boats and the big ships go out, taking tourists out, and they're dropping anchors into pristine coral reefs in these areas which, not only just for their conservation and biodiversity value, but that are absolutely critical to the economy for Indonesia, and they're just completely devastating really large areas of coral. So, I don't want to go on too much, but back to the government situation. 2025 was a huge year for the oceans, and we've had some wins, but we've definitely had a lot of losses. And the whole intergovernmental conferences and discussions, it's not happening fast enough. So we need to come together and get the main stakeholders to act. And so what the Stop Coral Declaration is aiming to do is bringing together key stakeholders involved in marine tourism to bring the boat operators together. We have 6 signatories that are all keynote speakers that are all going to be attending the Bali Oceans Conference to come together and sign this to agree to more sustainable marine tourism practices. And, as I said before, the UN, we have all these guides. We just need to implement it. Greenfins is doing an amazing job working with all the local dive schools and getting the communities to come together and really make sure that whenever we take tourists or do anything to do with the ocean, that we're following strict protocols. So we've come up with a series of 6 solutions and recommendations, which, we can share the declaration online. It's quite long. And you can read a little bit more about our exact solutions later on if you like. But over to you.
Yeah, let's say that, okay, this is a global issue where, Aisha, everybody knows that you have global stressors. Yeah. Unfortunately, when it comes to climate change, when it comes to ocean acidification and deoxygenation, locally here we can't do much about it. But however, you have local stresses, and unsustainable marine tourism is one of the most important local stresses to mitigate. So what we say let's focus on 6 points. Let's focus first on the no anchoring rules in marine protected areas. But when we say that, automatically we need to develop mooring buoyant systems nationwide. So our intention is to push stakeholders to develop mooring networks so they would not need to go anchoring. Wastewater system and sanitation system is very important too, because those vessels sometimes reject lots of toxic nutrients in the water because of poorly sanitized, poorly treated waters. What we talk about capping visitors numbers, because whatever you do, if we don't go to like it's made in the Galapagos, like it's made in Palau, like it's made in Kiribati, like it's made in Seychelles, we cap the number of operators, the number of diving operators, snorkeling operators, tour operators to enter marine protected areas at a certain time. Quantity is essential. You know, we're talking about bringing damage insurance. We're talking about getting mandatory briefing. Talking about penalties. Talking about reef damage insurance holding. It's very practical.
Yeah, I have a question. We won't go through all 6 now. We can return later on. I want to get to audience questions, but and it may not be available now, but where can, if people may be watching online or people here, they want to get a hold of this declaration. Is it on the website? Will it be something that will be only available at Bali Ocean Days? How does it work?
We invite you to attend the conference and learn more about this. But the important point is we have a good representation from the Minister of Tourism, and basically the Sky Blue Sea Foundation is going to collaborate with the Ministry of Tourism to basically with communication campaigns, with content about sustainable marine tourism. Yeah, right? So we're going to push the Ministry of Tourism and all this association. First, we want to be endorsed by the WWF, Coral Rescue Initiative, the Reef World Foundation. We talk about the Coral Triangle Center here in Sanoa. We're talking about the Coral Triangle Initiative, CTI, CFF. Talking about all those guys first. I mean, we'd like to get them co-signatories of the declaration, and then to bring this to the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Transportation, and the Ministry of Marine Affairs to involve the local authorities into practical, actionable decisions.
Thank you very much. And again, this is the key. You know, that there is talk, there is ideation, but then there's a result. There's action. Otherwise, it falls up. You lose traction. You lose momentum while you're there, right? So one thing I just want to quickly say before we go to question, and I keep going and going. You're like, is there a question? So please, it'd be wonderful if you came to your question. Now, while you're thinking about if you want to ask a question or not, we're very kind, okay? Especially to the first one. I just want to give you an actual case of what happens when you attend an event like Bali Ocean Days, right? So the last one, okay? I was MC, moderator, and so on. Now, just through me being there was a wonderful lady. I would love to have you at this event moderating. And this was okay, fine. But then months went by and I get a call from Mina going, hey, Rob, I'm the head of global policy for IUCN, and I want you to be moderating the ocean stage. So nature is all things conservation, right? Ocean is part of it. So there I find myself in Abu Dhabi on stage with, I don't know. So when you show up at events like Bali Ocean Days, that is the most prominent and important event, I believe, annual event in Indonesia for what concerns ocean use and ocean conservation, you never know where you're going to end up. I mean, in the years gone by, the World Bank, you know, as you're saying, right, you had some of the most important public and private sector organizations in the world show up to Bali for that event. So if you're thinking about attending, if you're thinking about booking a booth, if you're thinking about becoming a speaker, don't think anymore. Just take action and make it happen. Because honestly, like, each year that goes on, it becomes better and better, and there's more impact. And the ocean needs you now, not next year or the year after, right now. So if you're thinking about it, I really, really say to you, don't think, take action. All right? Okay, questions, raise your hands. I know that, okay, we have Mrs. Legal Malakat Hukum behind you. Guzman, do we have the other mic? Yeah, and then we're with the mics, by the way, try to handle them at the bottom. Each week someone switches it off. It's like, so let's see. Okay.
Hi, my name is Nilu Sukasari. I'm a founder of Malikatuk International Law Firm, among other things. Also the ex-president and president of Bali International Women Association. Now, I'm so excited with this event, so I'm coming. The ocean is calling me. It is blue planet at the end of the day. And also, as Indonesian, we are maritime country. We have 17,000 islands, as you know. And from my mother's side, I always told that, we are like seafarer. We're the one who conquered Madagascar. Like those, if UK have like a Battle of Trafalgar, we have the battles like the Gajah Mada, and there is a song called Aku Serang Pelaut. There is a maritime prideness on us. So I'm attending with my partner. But I want to ask you, I think the coral and everything is great, and having the international coming to Indonesia as 17,000 islands, how to navigate this between archipelago. However, I think it's need to instill the ideology of especially being Indonesian, being maritime, and how we actually having the island, the sea actually helping to connect us, not to divide us. Now, I live in the northeast of England for decades, and the North Sea is terrible. Like, you don't want to be there.
I take that personally.
No, honestly, you do not want to be in the North Sea.
But she's right.
Not funny. But, the Indonesian Sea is just beautiful. I am so blessed that we are in this sea. So I think, do you have any, for your event, anything that instill like the prideness ideology of being in this island, especially for the Indonesian, because I think that's need to be instilled. For Balinese, like if we do it from the heart, then we can actually have this project, and then the ocean helping, because the ocean is a blue planet at the end of the day, and the ocean is very important for us.
Beautiful question. I mean, look, I know that Aisha will add to this, but the thing which I would like to say, as you know, I've been here for a decade or so, and Nilu knows me very well. I'm always talking about Balinese culture, Indonesian culture at large. Last year, one of the key principles of Indonesia, which was instilled from day one, was gotong royong. This community, because I saw everyone as part of one family, ocean family, planet Earth. So you can't divide up, well, this is my bit, you're responsible for that. It's the ocean. We're all impacted. All rivers, streams lead to where? The ocean. and what are we? Where do we come from? The ocean. So gotong royong to me sums up the whole thing of what needs to happen, which is communities that may not know each other, may not like each other, right? Working together, because as you said, 0.46 of a meter, and 70% of Indonesia is at risk. So that's one aspect. And when it comes to Tri Hitakarana, as you know, again, another Balinese philosophy that I absolutely love. For me, Bali is one of the center points, the birthplaces of projects that have a global focus and a global impact, because the values of the nation and the place and the island align to that. Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity and diversity, right? Again, gotong royong. So gotong royong being unity and diversity in action. So all of these three principles, last year from day one, were instilled very deeply within the fabric of everything that happened from then on. And I feel and I believe, even with the Indonesian army, I still remember, that when I started to speak like this general kind of looked at me like, huh? And we had a chat later on. But again, to me, it's the fabric of where we are. And that's why G20 was so successful. And every event, large event, international in nature, in Bali works because of the energy, the cosmology, the beauty, the spirit, the taksu of Bali underpins all of this, that creates outcomes which I think are extremely difficult to find anywhere else. So that's what I would start by saying, and great question. And I pass it on to you two if you'd like to comment further.
No, yeah, absolutely, and we'll try this year to upgrade the regional dimension of the archipelago, because basically what we'd like to showcase, we had an audience, the Ministry of Tourism, a couple of weeks ago related to this. I'd like to showcase this outstanding wealth of, we call them marine wonders of Indonesia. That means we go directly to Kabupaten, to regencies, and we'd like to showcase, I hope it can be done through the support of the Ministry of Tourism, but to showcase the most outstanding regencies of Indonesia in terms of marine impact and marine heritage. Yeah. So Raja Ampat, of course. We talk about Bandanera, of course. We talk about Alor. We talk about Labuan Bajo and Komodo. We talk about East Kalimantan too. Hopefully, Rob, Aisha, hopefully we can showcase these regions of Indonesia a bit more than we did the previous years.
And just to quickly, I realize, actually, good question coming, that you look up here now and you see 3 foreigners.
I was just about to address that.
And you're like, hello. So this is 3 of the board members, of which is double, triple of what you see, which are Indonesian, actually. It's just that we did a press conference a few months ago, and we had limited numbers. So with this one, because Aisha didn't take place in a press conference, Aisha's here, and the other members are busy at the moment. But so this is a Born in Bali, Born in Indonesia initiative with Balinese and Indonesians at the helm. So, question, Detlef, over to you. Thank you.
I have 2 short questions. One is education and media coverage. So I guess the easiest to reach kids, and that's probably the most important, in school and in media, television. Is there a certain big bang planned, or because for me it sounds a little bit like a talk at the elite, at one level, but where are the kids? Where's the television? Where's this coverage? And then I have another question.
Right, let's do one at a time.
I can answer the education.
Yeah.
Not directly, specifically related to Bali Ocean Days. Bali Ocean Days is most definitely one of our key pillars as education. But in terms of the Indonesian government's priority, in my day job, I work for Asian Development Bank as a climate change and climate finance specialist, and I've just been involved in a project in Indonesia's new capital city, Nusantara. And we've actually been developing, retrofitting a bunch of schools in East Kalimantan, and we've been creating a new environmentally sustainable education program that fits in with the national school framework, and included in that is plastic waste management, is understanding our oceans, it's understanding climate resilience. So I think those models and frameworks are slowly weaving their way into the Indonesia curriculum, and Bali Ocean Days is certainly there to support that as well. Would you like to reflect on media? Because
maybe he didn't hear about the school as well, so maybe repeat that. He may not, because Detlef was talking during this Q&A today, and I think he missed the fact that Uluwatu School.
Hopefully,
right, yeah.
Yeah, you heard about that, the Uluwatu School. In terms of we hope for their participation, because it's a essential message. Basically, we're gonna work with them for youth panels. Yeah, basically, we'd like to put children on stage. We'd like to hear the younger generation, but really young kids on stage would be great. Yeah, with a moderator, and this is what we're thinking about with these schools. In terms of media, you see, we have an official media partner with Metro TV. Metro TV, Media Indonesia, and Medcom.id are official media partners. But CNN Indonesia came to us recently, and CNN Indonesia will be with us, among others, and all media that you might know here in Bali.
Second question, real quick, and then we'll go to you. Yeah.
Second question is to my neighbor here. She's an underwater photographer. So what do you see?
So he put you on the spot. A little bit close to your mouth there.
Okay. What did I see? I started diving from 2009. I think the biggest change I feel is at least 5 years. Start from 2020, the reef coral bleached. So that year was like very crazy because I based in a small island in Taiwan, and I dive like maybe 50% of my life, and it was like everywhere. And I even work with Greenpeace in Taiwan office to record some coral if they cover or not. And after 2020, and I also talk for Canon, the camera brand in Taiwan, about that. And then after that, I think 2024, it's another one. So for me, the coral in my island, I think it's like 50% of the coral already gone within these 5 years. And I do another thing is sea turtle, because we have more than 1,000 green sea turtles in the island, and I do the turtle ID, turtle identify, and then also the turtle spawning. And from last year, it's too hot, right? So the sand temperature is too high. I think like almost 1,000 eggs, they didn't make it. Yeah. And also this year, we have some huge typhoon and quite a lot of typhoons. So they flooded the eggs. Then the same problem, like lots of them didn't make it. And if you know, they have the spawning season, like from the spring to August. But in my island now, they're still coming up. Now it's already December, so it's almost like whole year because of the weather. Yeah, so I really think it's urgent now. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Would you pass the microphone over there? Round of applause, everybody. That was very, very kind share. And thank you, Detlef, for putting you right into the middle of it without even asking. But that's okay. You did
Can
great.
I just jump in real quick and say that's why you need to come to Bali Ocean Days, because it gives you hope. I mean, every time you turn on the news, we have crossed so many tipping points this year alone that's terrifying that we cannot uncross. And when you are having an existential crisis, come to Bali Ocean Days and find hope and solutions. There you go. There's my pitch. You're out of a job.
Here it is.
I love that.
Talking about photography and videography, let's mention that this conference will have a high visual impact, because we're gonna have the producer of Ocean with David Attenborough that's going to be joining us for experts for footage. And then at the end of the conference, I just got the authorization from the hotel to screen the entire film at the end of the conference. So Ocean with David Attenborough, presented by Toby Nolan, coming from London, with us to join us.
Now, just in case the beautiful accent disguised the word. So David Attenborough is who is talking about. No, but for some people they ask David Attenborough, and
Excuse my French.
but the French is beautiful. It's beautiful. But just so those of you at home also know, please, over to your question if that makes brother.
First, thanks for the talk. It was super nice. I highly respect all of you. If I could, I would have been in your shoes, because if I just had the courage when I was younger, I would love to be on the sea fighting for marine biodiversity. But like you said, you have to do what you're good at, right? So I'm good at strategy and at tech. So I wanted to ask, because you have an NGO, right? It's an NGO, if I'm not mistaken, the foundation. I just wonder, for NGOs and for you guys, like, what are your, like, I call it mission drag, right? Like, but what are your operational bottlenecks? Like, where do you waste the most amount of time when you are trying to do the mission instead of doing the mission? Because that's something that takes a lot of time. It eats your time while you don't feel productive, right? You feel like you're, like, it happens in every company and every business. It's like companies that just do so much waste and like stupid things, you know, like robotic things. Like, what are for you, like, these moments or these tasks, this operational drag that you have in your businesses?
So a few things to that. Maybe so people are aware, because I know what you're saying, but maybe you want to let people know what is it that you do, because I think that's the reason where the question's coming from, right?
Yeah. So I work with impact-driven organizations. So I try to look how we can steer technology towards a positive outcome for the planet, right? That means, like, a lot of companies for example, are selling now AI agents and stuff, right? To do e-commerce, to do all these stupid things that nobody actually needs. And I'm trying to steer AI towards creating a better future, a habitable planet, more biodiversity for the kids and stuff, right? And for our future. So I try to see how we can support basically companies who don't necessarily have the biggest funds, right? But at least we can still steer technology and use this and leverage this to make sure that they can grow, because your impact is the most important one. Right?
You know what I would love to see, right? And this is a personal thing, so I don't speak in an official capacity. But the question that I really hear, right, is, to which extent are you using technology, AI, and so on, in streamlining to gain a greater impact over what you're doing in whichever area of conservation. We're talking about Bali Ocean Days at the moment. So what I would love to see, and here's a bit of a challenge for you. I'm not sure if there's space, but I would love to see you come and be a booth at Bali Ocean Days, because again, what you're saying, and again, from IUCN, I was exposed to partly to a pretty strong extent the use of AI and technology in streamlining operations on a global level with huge organizations and what they're doing. I also saw the pushback against it, because again, a lot of people are probably, damn it, I'm going to say it, they're my age and older. Oh, I'm really old, all right? I don't look it, but I'm really old. So in that way, the next generation, the Malati generation coming up, bang, I grew up with AI, I grew up with technology. Easy to make that adjustment. But from what I can see, from a human standpoint, is that when they're getting more advanced in years, not all, but there's a resistance to change and a resistance to using technology like this, whereas it would be perfect to actually bring it in now for the reasons that you're actually saying. So I would kind of move that question back to you and say, come on to Bali Ocean Days and share some knowledge about how AI and how you're using AI with the companies that you're helping, because I think that would have a dramatic impact and powerful positive effect on, again, why are you here? You're here to change the planet. Don't waste your time working out how to do this stuff here that technology, AI, has already got the how, right? Don't waste time on that. Spend your time on impact, on what actually makes a difference. So round of applause, please, for that question. I think it was fantastic.
And if you can
You probably switched it off. Let's see. When she fluffs around with it, she switches it off, and we're going to continue to chat after as well.
If you can design AI that can write all of the funding and grant proposals, you'll make $1 billion. Because I just really quickly, I've worked in not-for-profits all my life, and we never, ever implemented a project or created any impact because we were just trying to get money, and all we would do was apply for grants, proposals, funding proposals, and it took years. So I left and started working for Asian Development Bank because we have all the money, and now we can just do the projects. It's unbelievable. It's a bank. It's so exciting. I think it's money is the biggest bottleneck in my experience. I don't know about Sky Blue Sea Foundation. I'm quite new there, but I would assume that all not-for-profits are just wasting time and resources on money and fighting amongst each other for the same small, pockets of money instead of working together.
I think you're battery. So you can she's over talking. Another question, please. I know there's a few more. So behind you, to your right, to your left. Yep.
Question?
Yes, question. We're just questions right now.
What's that? Well, I was just listening to you speak about the money situation and also speaking about artificial intelligence right here as well. And because I work in AI and I work in cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3, and I look at I think we're really on the verge of a massive breakthrough in the world right now, where when we change the money supply and things go digital, the money is not going to be all consolidated in people's hands, because it's like if I ask you what you need and you say, well, we just need $1 million, or how much money are you looking to raise? Here's a question for you. How much money are you looking for right now?
They're a bank. They've already got the money.
Okay, you got the money.
Awesome. Asian Development Bank. But they already have all the money. But I get your point, though.
It's been awesome.
Thank you very much indeed, brother. Here as well. I'm sure we'll get to you eventually. And look, just to go back on the point that Ryan Risden was just making, so what he's saying is that, a change, as he mentioned, the deployment of assets towards projects which require it will become a lot more easier. Yeah. Yeah, so you have the mic? Yeah, so Bali, by the way, those just tuning in, Bali Ocean Days, you're watching a preview. And remember, January 30, 31, go to Bali Ocean Days website or Instagram and find the details there. Secure your place now while you can. Reserve your ticket. And yes, if you're looking also, there may be a few spots left for booths. If you want to start to share some of this information, we've had a great couple of shares here about how AI is able to impact financing, funding, deployment of capital, which I think is incredibly important and needed. Also, how it can streamline operations, which then make smaller, especially, and larger organizations' operations so much more impactful because they're wasting a lot less time on the how, right? So over to you.
Okay.
Nice and close to the microphone, yeah? Close.
Try this.
Yeah.
We all agree the rivers and beaches cleanups alone, they don't really scale. So what would it take to Bali to move from cleaning beaches, cleaning plastic, to convert them into constructive materials that can actually build community infrastructure, roads, schools, community centers?
So you're going to share, maybe was it this one? Yeah. Yeah. That's an Aisha question right there.
Yeah, it's not just a Bali problem. Bali has a huge plastic waste problem, obviously. I guess at the global level, there's been arguments and inability to come to consensus on whether we deal with plastic downstream or deal with the trying to halt the production of plastic in the first place. We need both. We need, for a full circular economy, we need to reduce it at the source. So we're coming up with other innovative materials and not actually... If we're just recycling and putting it back into the environment, it's not true circularity because it's still in the system. And what we've actually, it's really challenging. Again, there's no silver bullet because there is plastic in the world and we do need to deal with it. But what they're actually finding is a lot of recycled plastic products are quite high in toxins. So I don't know if I would necessarily want a recycled plastic chair in my child's school because it's going to be leaching toxins. I come to Bali Ocean Days and we have a whole half day on it.
The waste of the crisis in Bali is at the crossroads, yeah. And what's coming soon is basically a massive injection of capital money from the Indonesian states, from Danantara, yeah, who's going to finance by billions of dollars to find solution about the waste crisis in Bali. Let's hope for correct due diligence. Let's hope for both competencies and integrity when it comes to who will be the bidders in charge. But for the very first time, I have to say, in years, the Indonesian government is taking the problem at the right scale and is ready to finance solutions at the highest level. So there is some hope today. I think we have a problem in terms of timing because the Suwung landfill is going to be closed at the end of the month. But to develop massive waste-to-energy project would take a good 2 years. So there is a question mark about this transitional period of time. But let's say that the paradigm is changing, and I think stakeholders are aware about the emergency situation, hopefully.
Thank you.
So just quickly, Indonesia does have fantastic high-level targets across the board. So we had this national target to reduce marine plastic pollution by 70% by 2025. We only managed to reduce it by about 29%. Sorry, it's me with the stats again. So I've been part of the Indonesian National Plastic Action Partnership Policy and Finance Task Force for many years, but I'm yet to see any solid projects be implemented out of that, even though it's been around for about 6 years. So, again, we've got the ambition. I really feel like we have the commitment from the local government and the national government, but it's about just hurrying up to implement and action things now, and enough talk. It's all problematic. Waste to energy is problematic because there's no net energy gain, because the amount of energy that you need to actually run a pyrolysis plant or create that energy creates more emissions and more CO2 than you are hoping to save by removing plastic from the environment. So it's all tricky. So I don't have the answers, but I think it's getting better.
It's just hard because when you look at the amount of waste that's out there and the small number of initiatives they are put in place, they actually cause an impact so small. So yes, we want to clean the oceans, and there's so much you can do until we actually can stop the waste to actually getting into the ocean. And yes, there's so much cleanup, beach cleanup and river cleanup that can be done, but that's going to be exhausted at some stage. And with so many new technologies, like I mentioned, turning plastic waste into construction materials, or now we're coming up with fuel and electricity.
But they're hard to scale, right?
Exactly. Where does it go from, and how do we scale?
You know what will happen? Great question. Have a chat to Aisha after, and come to Bali Ocean Days because there's more going on.
I'll be there.
So no, from now on, the answer to the question will be come to Bali Ocean Days. Now, just quickly before we go to the next question, we'll be wrapping up quite soon. So if you have got a burning question, please raise it. The other thing is that what I've noticed just through having 500 plus episodes and speaking to lots of different people in government and private public sector, the waste thing isn't a technology thing. It's a coordination thing, and that's from the source to the end point. And I can go into lots more detail, but not now because this show isn't about that. But that's part of it. So it's a jigsaw puzzle, and there's different pieces that you need. And one piece isn't enough to complete the puzzle, but there is a puzzle that can be completed. Yeah. Over to you, Arjuna.
Hello. Earlier we spoke about the youth.
A little bit closer to your mouth.
Oh, hello. Hello. Okay. So earlier we spoke about youth education, and we also spoke a lot about the ocean, the reefs bleaching and stuff like that. So I kind of want to build on that a little bit. There was a big problem in rural Indonesia specifically with bombing, and the government has done a lot of initiatives to reduce that by a lot. However, my mom and I, when we go diving in Flores, we still hear the bombs go off sometimes, and it's really concerning. So I'd just like to ask, what do you think is the best way to reach rural Indonesians in a way that's beyond like governmental action, for example?
A difficult question, Arjuna, because I mean, when we talk about Eastern Indonesia, we talk about remote areas. Definitely, the answer is coming from community members. Yeah, I mean, this, as you know better, I mean, these members of their own communities, members of the Flores communities, members of the Papua communities, of the Alor communities, I mean, are the key persons. So solution will not come from Jakarta. All right. So basically, the way some organizations are capable to transform local skills into sustainable development is always interesting. For instance, you see, for instance, the way that the shark fishers of Lombok basically have been employed, have been encouraged to develop shark tourism. You know, they were the shark fishers, they were chopping up fins, and they became conservationists because they know plenty of things about sharks, but instead of killing them, they now engage tourists to visit the shark areas. This kind of initiatives are always interesting. Or you have, for instance, how you can also develop local skills, you know, when you have, for instance, seaweed farmers that were very precisely developing hand skills underwater. Those seaweed farmers in many coral restoration projects where the seaweed farms have receded or even disappeared, they became the key stakeholder to restore corals because of their own traditional skills. So I think this is this kind of grassroots program, very local, bottom up, that could be probably the most efficient in those cases.
Thank you very much indeed. So look, what we're going to do now, if you can pass the mic over here, just pass it this way, and Guz, thank you. I'll see if I can give this one to our sister Aisha. So what we're going to do is that we're going to begin to wrap up, but the way we're going to do that is that I'm going to read off just a few things about Bali Ocean Days conference and showcase this year, but then while I'm doing that, I would love both Aisha and Pascal Philippe. I just feel like Pascal Philippe is such a cool name. So is Aisha Reynolds, by the way. But I just feel like getting the whole body into it. Pascal Philippe. So Pascal and Aisha, I would love you just to kind of have a thought about what kind of closing remarks you would like to give. It's going to be about 2 or 3 minutes away, I would say, so you have a bit of time to think. Aisha, for you, if you want to let it rip with the statistics, the 10 pages that you prepared before, you might not have time for all 10, but feel free to tease out the ones that you think are most prevalent and important now. When it comes to you, Pascal, I would love you to give in your closing remarks an idea, because people don't know the scale of this thing. Is it 100 people? Is it 200 people? Now, I know what the number is, but I would love that to come from you. Over the 2 days, what kinds of numbers of people are coming? Because it's not a small thing, but you don't know that as yet. So I'd love you in your closing remarks just to reiterate what that looks like. And if there's anything else that perhaps tonight you were thinking just of what you've heard come back that you would like to speak about, feel free to bring that out as well. And then after that, we'll have a photo with the three of us, and then we'll get everyone who's here into a group photo. So before we get there, I just want to give you a little bit of a rundown. Pascal also gave you a part of this, but I'd like to give you a little bit more. So Bali Ocean Days, third conference and showcase at the InterContinental Bali Resort, Jimbaran, January 30 and 31, 2026, obviously. Now, I'll skip over some of these. Day one, it's moderating is Mr. Alistair Spears, most valuable business in Indonesia. His son, Edward, Bali Now, if anyone knows Edward, fantastic fellow. Master of Ceremonies is someone you might know sitting in my chair. And then we've got, welcome addresses. We have remarks by a Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries of the Republic of Indonesia, the Vice Minister of Tourism, Republic of Indonesia. We get into the archipelagic and island states on the front lines of climate change. We've already spoken, I don't know your name, my dear, but she's spoken about the impacts that you've been having spent 50% of your life in the water. I think I'm going to call you a fish, and a wonderful fish at that. But again, these are serious things. The Ministry of Fisheries and Forestry, Republic of Fiji, Minister for Marine Resources, Papua New Guinea, Special Envoy for ASEAN, Republic of the Seychelles. Whoever's been to the Seychelles, another beautiful, beautiful location, but seriously, in harm's way should this sea level rise, right? So we've got this sponsor corporate film screening showcasing exhibitors' presentations. We've been into that already. Then we're talking about ecotourism, the preservation of coral reefs and marine biodiversity. And we've spoken already about that declaration that Sky Blue Sea has started, about stop, to protect coral, right? And why? And then you have a lunch break, coastal community and empowerment and education for marine conservation. So Detlev was talking before about, how do we use education as a tool, right, to empower people from the young, 6 years of age, I keep coming back to that, to the older. I'm not telling you how old I am, but it's over 100. But again, jokes aside, again, we're talking from here to here. We're talking international. We're not talking about just one country. We're talking about many, many nations, 50, 60, 80 plus nations from memory. We're talking about the founder of the Coral Triangle Center. We're talking about the Reef World Foundation. We're talking about the Sea People, founder of Positive Ripple Consulting. As we mentioned to you, young man over here, I would love to see you there bringing the AI and how this can integrate and help streamline organizations to reach their goal. We've spoken about Melati being one of the moderators, and Miss Susie Hutomo, Ecotourism Bali, and she does some amazing work. We're talking about here open remarks from the Vice Minister of Environment of the Republic of Indonesia, trends in ocean science and marine technology, and a whole slew of speakers from the IPB University, Marine Education and Research Organization. We're talking about postdoctoral fellowship, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Again, we're talking all over the world here, coming to Bali to be a part of this. Silverback Films, Open Planets film screening. Then there's a sustainable fishing and protection of endangered species session. So again, we've got another 4 or 5 speakers that go deep into that area. Another buffet and lunch, waste treatment and reduction of ocean plastic pollution. So we were just talking about it, your question about how do we reduce plastic pollution from the source. Come along, check it out, right? You've got, the French Development Agency, right? So it's not just about Indonesia, it's about who has solved this problem around the world. Let's bring them in to explain how it can be done here, right? We're talking in the GIZ, International Services, Consulting General, Indonesia Packaging Recovery Organization. Packaging plays a huge part in this, as we all know, right? So again, I can go on. I think I'll pull it up there, but again, this is one family, Gotong Royong, going back to our sister over here, Nilun Sukasari from Malaikat Hukum Lawyers, right? It's not one thing for one person; it's one thing for all of us. Oceans, anyone to do with it around the entire planet, and this is one of those events that is critical. That is probably, for me, personal opinion, the most prominent event when it comes to ocean conservation and ocean use here in Indonesia, which leverages from all over the world. So that's why it is an incredibly important event, and you can come and attend it here in Bali, January 30, 31, Bali Ocean Days website, social media, reserve your spot. So, having said all of that, I think I need some glasses. So, I just want to thank a few people. So, firstly, we'll go to Guzman and Tropical Nomad. Thank you so much. A round of applause for Guzman, doing everything pretty much. Woo. Thank you to you, the audience, for braving the rain. I can't believe I probably can believe we had rain on Bali Ocean Days preview. Rain that fills the oceans. Thank you so much for coming. So a round of applause for yourselves, please. Woo. Our sister Aisha Reynolds, who brought 10, I keep on increasing it, 20 pages of notes. It was 10. 20 pages of notes.
13 and I cut it down to about 10.
13 and cut it down to 10. There you go.
My short version.
The short version. Thank you once again, SkyBC Foundation, another board member. And thank you to the ones who couldn't be here tonight as well. Oki, Paul, and many others. And Yokka, thank you so much for tuning in. And obviously, Secretary General Pascal Philippe. Just love that name. Ooh, so I know exactly, Riz, and that's how I feel too. So what we're going to do, as I mentioned, we're going to hear some closing remarks. Ladies first, from Aisha, then from Pascal, and then we'll close up off here with some photos. And I really do encourage you to stay back and just to connect, because you would have heard people's introduction, and I think you always find people of value here that will help your next step in whatever it might be. So, Sister Aisha, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to reiterate what you just said there, that, I've also been to many, many major conferences around the world, all the UN conferences, UNFCCC, the COPs, and by far, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on the board, but by far Bali Ocean Days was the most inspiring. I got really overexcited. It was networking. It was one of the most powerful, impactful conferences that I've been to in the whole world, let alone just Indonesia. Secondly, it's at a really, really fair price point. I know a lot of the big events and conferences in Bali can be quite exclusive to locals, and I was really amazed to go in, and the room was 90% locals, and the tickets are really affordable. It's not $500 for 2 days or anything like that, but it can be if you are in a position to do so and would like to be a patron. So I'll just finish with, we brought up so many different topics tonight, and AI and so many different areas we can work in, and I think we really need to de-silo our approach to all the problems in the world. There's something called systems thinking, and I don't know if anyone's heard of it before, but it talks about that we live in a system and everything's interconnected by causal loops. And many of our systems, as we know, are failing and need changing, and we call this transformational systems change. I'll try to summarise, but if you think about a pyramid and many, many different points along that pyramid of where you can enter to create a leverage point to create a transformational systems change, whether it's waste, whether it's saving the coral reefs, whether it's how to use AI, whether it's, anything that you're working in. And what they've found in studies is that the most difficult thing to change is behaviour. But it is also the most profoundly impactful. So that probably doesn't help. I'll leave that with you. It's really hard, but this is what we have to need to do. And, you know, and we protect what we love again. And I just, lastly, everyone in this room has made the effort to come out and swim through the floods to get here tonight in the pouring rain. Terrible day to leave the house. But the reason every one of you came is because you've all got a personal relationship to the oceans. You haven't just watched it on TV. You're all divers. You're all in there. You've all gone below that thin blue line and have a personal relationship, and that's what's helped to create your passion. So how do we share that with others and make others love it? That's it. Yeah.
Much has been said. Yeah, much has been said. No, I think, you know, we curate Bali Ocean Days is an event where, in terms of size, as you ask, Robert, we talk about something like 250 people per day over 2 days, yeah, something like that. In terms of capacity, we have. Go online for Megatix platform. Easy to get, as you said, Aisha. We want it to be affordable, so you have one day ticket, 2 days tickets for you. I think it's educational, but it's entertaining too. We try to bring a universe of diversity in speakers. We curate everyone on stage one by one. We handpicked people for you guys, not to feel bored after a couple of sessions, but to stay. We're pretty happy to see that the audience remains basically after lunch, and we don't lose many people usually at Bali Ocean Days.
Well, that's because the wine tasting at lunch.
People like to stay, and don't forget the audience, because the show is also in the audience. You have vast majority of conferences where, with due respect for fillers, you know what, the audience is relatively coming from students, coming from not having to do with scrolling their phone all day long. And now, I mean, when you go to Bali Ocean Days, the audience is particularly engaged. You will find so many friends of yours. The who's of Bali, Indonesia's conservationists, NGOs, impact entrepreneurs, academics, angels and founders will be there with us. So it's a fantastic occasion, even though you are participating and attending the show, you'll have very meaningful networking opportunities during those 2 days. I think that's also one of the interests to be with us soon. Here we are.
Round of applause. See you there, guys. Bali Ocean Days 2026. Thank you so much. See you next week.